Welcome one, welcome all. This is DFG, the greatest of them all. I'm not the GOAT, but I know one person is better and he ain't around, so I guess that makes me the GOAT. This is DFG, the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, smooth as a Rolls Royce. I'm coming to you live from the 571 where I'm having fun and I'm getting things done. Today, I'm gonna be talking about money, mindset, and legacy. The financial decisions that shape generations. And before I start, I wanna shout out to my sister. She's not here today, but her beau is. Go on, Dabs, holla at your boy.
What's up? What's up? How you doing? DJ Dab from Duval. She getting she
That's
she
that's
back there
what's
getting ready
up.
to get on. How you doing?
That's what's up. And of course, we got Miss Kim's always on, always there. Thank you for coming on. With me today, I'm going to start it off with a video, as I usually do. I did get it right this time, so y'all just be ready. Y'all just be ready to hear it and let me know if you can hear it because sometimes things go up and things go down. Let me move this over here and let me stop sharing and then share again.
Money touches every stage of our lives, but we rarely stop to think about how our relationship with money evolves over time. In your
Can y'all hear
30s, you
anything?
might be juggling debt, kids, and career pressure. In
Yeah,
your
we hear
40s
it.
and 50s, you may be earning more than ever, but also realizing you're behind or responsible for more people than you expected. And in your 60s and beyond, money becomes less about accumulation and more about security, protection, and legacy. Today, I want to talk about money, mindset, and legacy, and how the financial decisions we make don't just affect us, but the generations that come after us, because money is never just about dollars. It's about beliefs, habits, and the stories we carry with us. Most of us didn't learn about money from textbooks. We learned it by watching. We watched how our parents handled bills. We absorbed whether money was talked about or avoided. We learned if it was a source of stress, power, fear, or freedom. Those early lessons shape how we spend, save, invest, and even avoid money as adults. At some point, many of us hit a moment where we realize the way I've been thinking about money isn't serving me anymore. That's when the shift happens from survival to strategy. It's the moment you stop reacting to money problems and start planning for money goals. And that shift can happen at any age. Let's talk about real life money management, not theory. Budgeting isn't about restriction, it's about awareness. It is about knowing where your money is going so you can decide where you want it to go instead. That doesn't mean you failed. It means you use tools sometimes without enough information, and now you have the opportunity to course correct and emergency savings. That's not pessimism, that's peace of mind. Financial resilience isn't built through perfection, it's built through consistency and honesty. Small, repeatable habits matter more than big, dramatic changes. One of the most damaging beliefs people carry is the idea that they wait too late to invest, too late to build wealth, too late to change course. That's really true. Whether you're an early planner or a late starter, progress is still possible. Wealth building doesn't have to be complicated, but it does require intention, understanding the basics of investing, exploring homeownership, business ownership, or alternative income streams, and avoiding common traps that keep people stuck like lifestyle inflation or fear-driven decision making. Wealth isn't about how much you make. It's about what you keep, grow, and protect. At some point, money stops being just about you. It becomes about what you leave behind. A legacy isn't only about money in a bank account. It's about the conversations you're willing to have, the lessons you pass on, the transparency you create. Estate planning, insurance, and beneficiaries matter, but so does teaching the next generation how money works. Passing down knowledge can be more powerful than passing down assets. Legacy is built long before retirement. Here are a few questions worth sitting with. What money lesson did you learn too late that you wish you'd known at 30? How have your financial priorities changed as you've gotten older? What does wealth mean to you now beyond income or status? And what is one financial step you can still take today no matter your age that would make a meaningful difference no matter where you are in life? It's not too early and it's not too late to make better financial decisions. Money is a tool, mindset is the foundation, and legacy is what lasts. If this episode made you think differently about money, share it with someone in another generation. That's how financial change really begins.
Well, that was pretty interesting. And going forward, I'm going to ask a couple of questions before we start. I want Chocolate Pearl to reintroduce herself.
Hey, 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 everyone. This is Chocolate Pearl. Sorry I'm late. All my devices were dead, so I'm going to be on my phone until one of my devices boot back up. I hope we're here for a good show today.
So that's what's up. Glad you're on. Glad you're about this. Um, one one of the things I want to talk about is entitlement versus expectation. Are young people demanding too much, or are they simply refusing to accept outdated norms? Let's talk about that. What do you think, Miss Kim?
Repeat the question. Can you repeat it? Can you hear me?
Right. Repeat the question.
Say that again.
Can you
She
repeat
wanted
the
you to
question?
repeat the question.
Yeah, I was about to repeat it for you. He's not hearing.
The question I had is, are young people demanding too much or simply refusing to accept outdated norms?
Oh, they do demand a lot, but they don't want to put forth. I guess I could say they don't want to put forth the work, do the work. But a lot of the young people now want things just handed to them. They don't want to work for it.
I agree. I agree to a point. Some of them out there hustling, but
Yeah, some
well,
are out there
we made it
hustling.
to that. It's so easy for them to get stuff,
True. But it's a lot of them that want things just given to them. They don't want to hustle for it.
and we don't necessarily we wanted our kids to have everything we didn't have. I think in overall we did a poor job with money management. Even though my kids will squeeze a penny so hard that Lincoln will scream, even though they don't make pennies no more. But over the time, I want to cover a little bit of that. Miss Dream, what do you think? Are kids too entitled?
I think it's a loaded question, and I don't necessarily think there's one right response. I feel like the signs of the times, they're definitely entitled. I feel like it just depends on the kid, but I just feel like, but I don't know if it's wrong to want what you want or necessarily be entitled anymore. I think it's a combination because at the end of the day, when you think about it, it's almost like we were so busy hustling and working hard, and we set them up to where I feel like, especially with mine, they feel like it should not necessarily have to be that way. So, in a sense, that yes, that's entitlement, but is it wrong for you to feel like you're supposed to have what you have when you just like contribute and kind of live? I don't know. I think there's so many layers to it. I think on some level, and the fact that things are harder now for them to like purchase a home, to just like credit, like all of those things are harder now for your kids than it was for you. So that makes when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, it's like even if you would want them to like hustle hard or and push and pull, it's like, is it really worth it when the world is seemingly so stacked up against you nowadays? So I feel like it's hard for me when I really try to like drill in on that question, because I think it's very, very individual to the child and their background experiences they have. And then I also think it's just the world is so complicated and layered right now that maybe they're right. Maybe we shouldn't be pushing and scrubbing. I mean, it's I don't know. So I'm here to hear thoughts.
Well, here's here's what I'm looking at too. And like I said, I think we spoiled our kids so much that we're not actually we didn't teach them anything. Um, what I how I look at it is we told our kids, like our
I
parents
kind of
told most of our parents
disagree.
told us, you work hard, you stay at your job, and at the end you'll be rewarded. But that's not what they're seeing today. They're seeing they're kind of I'm not saying they're entitled, but they are pragmatic. Hey, you told me if I did X, Y, and Z, that A, B, and C will help me. Well, I see y'all struggling, and I don't want to struggle like that. So why is it this hard? How can you make it easier for me? And for most of us, we don't know how to make it easier for our kids because we listened to our parents and we stayed at our jobs until we got let go, and then reshuffling and retirement ain't what it used to be. And we can't think of nest eggs like we used to for our parents and our parents, but we don't have that room um that runway. And in a way we're kind of entitled because we felt we put in the work. We need to reap the rewards of that work. But I don't know if kids are exactly entitled, but it's hard for them to it's hard for me not to sympathize with them because they didn't make this world. They did what they had to do when they had to do it. So what about you, Big Al? Do you think are young people demanding too much, or they simply refusing to accept outdated norms?
I think it really depends. In the case of all of my children, and now with my grandchildren, they all have to get a job working at McDonald's or Burger King. And they all learn the same lesson. They'll say, Dad, we see a lot of older people working at Burger King and McDonald's, and I don't want to be an old person having to work at Burger King or McDonald's. And I'm not putting down anybody who works at Burger King or McDonald's, but it inspires them to go to school and to get the education. But to your point, we have to be judicial in making sure that they are choosing careers where there is going to be employability. Uh,
Right.
right now, the big shift is to AI, to IT. So if we're not encouraging them into those curriculum, and those who don't want to go to college will go to trade school to become a plumber, go to trade school to be an electrician. There are fields and there are careers that are going to ensure a certain amount of income and uh, guarantees of employability if you choose the right career field. And as things change, then you need to be flexible enough to change with the current trends.
And that's true. That's true. But I think, like I said, I think we sold them a bill of goods because even when they go to school, they wind up with more. They wind up on more than when they got in there. Usually, we were told that if you go to school, you finish, you get out education, jobs will be waiting for you. And the reason why a lot of older people are working at Burger King and McDonald's and those fast food places that are usually for teenagers, there aren't really outside of making stocks and bonds and stuff. There really aren't that many non things you can just show up and do. Like you said, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, masons, all of those, they working with their hands. They got to know something to do something, and they don't get if they don't do good work, they don't get paid. Whereas McDonald's, it was good for a 16, 15, 16-year-old to go to McDonald's and work, learn some discipline, earn some cash, learn how to clean as you go, no standing. It took a little bit of discipline, but now they're, I go by Dunkin' Donuts and ain't nothing but people my age, and I'll be 60, and they working there, and I don't, like you said, I'm not knocking them down because, hey, money don't grow on trees and you got to get it where you get it. But it's causing our youth to be like, I don't want that life, but I really don't know what I want to do yet. And we go down hard because we look at them and we want them to be on their own, but in reality, it's hard. It's hard for us, and we are making money. That's the crazy part. What do you think, Miss Summer?
Oh God, as I'm listening, my mind is going all over the place because I'm just looking at um it seems like oh my gosh, okay, I don't even know where to start. So my son showed me a video when he was about maybe 19 years old about and it was something that did not phase him. It was like a pig that was actually like getting butchered, and he didn't flinch. And that messed me up for like a couple of days off of what I saw. So, number one, I think the children nowadays are very desensitized. They're used to hearing a lot. They live in a world now where they see death on a regular basis. They hear about death. Things that affect us do not affect them the same. They've got porn at their fingertips where we didn't have access to that. We had Playboy magazines and things of that nature. They got all of that stuff right there. They know more stuff than we do, seen it all, been there, done it all. My daughter is 18. She's getting ready to graduate. She told me that she does not want college debt, and so I asked her what exactly she wanted to do, and she said she wanted to go into some type of a trade school. She might want to do community college, kind of pay as she goes, but she doesn't want college debt. My son uh, got involved with something recently that kind of changed his life. He sat down with me and my husband and told us, listen, is nothing out here for me. I tried college. I didn't hold my attention. There was a lot of parties and stuff going on. So now I'm getting ready to go into the military. I need to be away from all of this crazy stuff out here. I just want to focus on myself. And so not he's going into a branch where he's not going to be you know, more on the front line, but still it is a crazy time. But he's like, there's nothing for me out here. I think it depends on the child. My daughter is very considerate of my husband and I spending. And she's like, no, no, you don't have to get me that dress. We can go somewhere else where it may be cheap. She's very considerate like that. It depends on the child, but they are exposed to a lot of stuff. And I feel so sorry for them, this generation right now, because it's cancel culture. It's, uh, you know, everything is in their face. So it's about survival. And I was just telling my mother that if they could just make it, the goal is for me and my husband to maybe leave something for them so they're a little bit better off than we were. And hopefully by the time they're
Right.
able to take that over, they'll be in the correct mindset. You see what I'm saying? But if they could just hold on and get to that point, that's the goal. So it's a lot.
that's a lot of wishful thinking.
Right.
Said that that's a lot of wishful thinking in my opinion, because like I said, what we told them was what was true when we told them that. But now they're looking at us and looking like we failed them, and in a way we did. Um, we don't make our kids get up at 6 on Saturdays and clean. We don't make our kids, you know, really do chores. They do chores, but it's not like we used to have to do them. And also, like I said, we told these kids for years, you do the right thing, you work hard, and you get your rewards. Well, they ain't seeing no rewards because ain't none to have. Miss Nikki on YouTube was saying that college is an arm and a leg. People don't always want to. People don't. People always can't get to college, and those that can are winding up with tons of money that they owe people, and buying a house. You can't. I mean, half of us can't afford a house now. I looked in the Prince William area, and the average house is like $500,000. Who got $500,000 they can spend? Not your boy. But anyway, it's one of those things because they think they think they should be ahead of where they actually are now, and I don't blame them because that's what we told them. Now, a lot of times is we have a money mindset. How do we teach money? How do we handle money? And how our kids saw us handle money. I mean, my parents were broke. They both had jobs, but they was broke because they spent more than what they made. And unfortunately, they did other things that took food out our mouths and clothes off our back. But I mean, we looked at it as I got to do better than this. And my father, he passed. I just turned 20 when he passed. And he used to say, You need to do better than me. You need to do better than me." He was always about that. You going to school. When I didn't want to go to school, he said, "You going to school because you're gonna be better than me." And I want that for my kids, but they can't. They don't have the opportunities that I had when in the '80s, in the '70s and '80s. So I feel bad. My oldest graduated from college, but he's not in his field, but he really doesn't know what he wants to do. But I'm gonna talk about different age levels and money. Um, from 30 to 75, which is most of this audience. I don't think there's anybody in here under 30. During the ages 30 to 45, most of us were juggling debt, raising kids, and trying to get ahead in our career. We didn't do vacations much. We were just trying to stack our bread because we knew kids had to go to school and kids eat and they like wearing decent stuff. From 46 to 60, those are our peak earning years because we earn more now in that age than we did when we was in our 30s. So our kids are older. Hopefully they're out your pocket. They out our pockets, and we asking them to, we say, hey, you got to fly on your own now. So we're trying to and we're trying to catch up on stuff we missed out on. And then we also got family members that aren't where we are financially. Some are better off, some are worse off. But if you with your family should be able to count on you, and you should be able to count on your family when they can. Um, as you get older and you're in your 60s, looking at retirement, saving money. A lot of us, we have not saved for money. We have not saved for college, and telling our kids to save for retirement. Retirement is so far off, and I don't know if Social Security is going to be there for them. I don't know what retirement plans are going to look like in 20, 30 years. But this is the age, we're at the ages now that this is where we need to talk. We need to talk about, what are we going to do for the last decade or decade and a half of our lives, because the average black man lives to 62, and the average black woman lives to 71. So, if you retired at 60 or 65, you ain't got that much time on earth. So what are you going to do? Are you going to build money for you going to build a nest egg for your kids, which estate tax will eat it up, or are you just going to say FTK and just go for yours? Now, I'm kind of in the middle. I'm kind of FTK, but I understand that, two of my sons won't live without having something. So I work hard so that I don't have to worry about them when I'm not here. Because that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at in this point of life. Some of us can't be there because bills be coming, and you don't want your kids to fall flat. You don't want your kids to fall flat over that. But unfortunately, it's becoming more common than not that our kids will be worse off than us. And I am totally bummed out about that. And the guy, and I don't want to talk about him, but you know who him is. He ain't making it no better for us anyway. He don't care about us, but that's another thing. So, um, looking at that, and Miss Nikki said it's so sad to see senior citizens working when they should be retired. Yeah, everybody should be able to retire,
A
but that's
coworker, she was still in her 70s when I was working,
mhm,
and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. She was in
yep.
her 70s, so she's probably like 70, almost 80 years old now. And she says she can't retire no time soon. And
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
my sister will be 78 in May, and she's still working.
And that's it's sad when you have to work because you have to and not because you want to. That's the sad part because when you stop working, most people who worked all their lives, when they stop working, they stop living because they don't lost their purpose. Some people do it for survival because they've made decisions to help other people, and people either screwed them or something happened and they couldn't get the help that they needed. But it's something, and you try to set yourself up so you're working because you want to, not because you have to. Let's talk about soft life. Chocolate Pearl, what do you think soft life is?
Um, I really don't know what soft life is, but the way it sounds, it sounds as if um, it's a life where someone's constantly helping you um, make it through, and it's easy for you to get through life. Maybe
No, I mean, no, that's
it's that
that's
it's not as hard as, well, to you. You feel it's not as hard to do anything because you constantly have help. Um, I wish I could have, you would have asked me, because I wanted to answer that other question about if are they entitled or whatever the other
go ahead.
word was.
Go ahead.
Um, I feel both. And the reason why I feel both, for instance, and I think I just mentioned this a while back in uh, one of the nights that we were on, that my neighbor next door, when I lived in the apartments, and she was living with her mother, and it was her mother and a sister were living there, and they decided they don't want to go to school anymore, so they just sat around the house. They weren't too much of a burden, but they were a burden because they weren't paying any bills and nobody had a job. So one day I asked her, I said, "Hey, you got a job now?" "No." I said, "Why not?" "Oh, because these people don't want to pay you. They want to pay you this little bit of money and want you to work hard. I'm not going to work hard for that little bit of money." And I'm thinking, but a little bit is more than nothing. She said, "Yeah, I understand that, but I'm not going out there to bust my tail to do nothing." I said, "So if you don't have anything and your mother don't have anything," 'cause I think her mother lost a job at the time, "how are you surviving?" He said, "We're doing the best we can." But it didn't seem like it was a concern to her that she had to go out there and find a job. Granted, she did go find a job, but it didn't seem like it was a rush to do it.
How long did
So
it take her though? That's the question.
Actually, after her and I talked, I want to say about a month. I noticed she had a job after that. Um, I don't know how long it took her to get the job, but she got the job. Um, but it's just the fact that they feel that they want to start off. They don't want to work minimum wage. You have no experience. You have no work experience. You don't even still don't know how to get up on your own type thing. But you want to make $20 to $30 an hour flipping a burger.
Right.
Um, and so I think sometimes they do seem like they're entitled, but they feel also they see us struggling and they don't want to struggle for a little bit of money. They don't want us to still be working at McDonald's at the age of, 50 and up. But they need to know, I personally think they need to know the struggles that we had to go through to get to where we are. And some of us haven't even made it. And it's because of the economy. So you trying to be entitled sometimes doesn't necessarily work for you because of how the economy is set up right now. But
No, that makes
at the,
sense.
but at the end of the
That makes
day,
sense.
yeah, but at the end of the day, I've always taught my children, if you have to start at the bottom, you start at the bottom, but you don't stay there. You find a way to move up. If you can't move up in that, you at least get the experience from that job and move on to something else, and keep
Right.
graduating up. So my kids, thank God, are hardworking kids. They don't take it for granted, and I think they because they've seen how I went out there and bust my behind with two jobs and still managed to take care of them and be there for them and do things for them. But they see how I was tired and run down from it. So they felt that they don't want to do it. So I thank God that all three of my children did manage to go to college. Two of them got their diplomas. My daughter, unfortunately, because of COVID, and she slacked a little bit towards the end, she didn't get her diploma, but she got enough information that I guess she feels she doesn't want to go back. However, um, I'm still teaching her that even though you do have two jobs, they're two part-time jobs. You need to turn that into at least one full-time job with benefits. I
Right.
said it, and I try to teach or tell her because she said she never wants to never want to flip a burger. Granted, she has not. She still has not flipped a burger, but she's still in that flipping burger mentality because of the positions that she's taken. Granted, she did do like I told them to do, if you there, don't stay down, graduate up. And she did manage to become assistant manager at one of the stores that she worked at. But I told her, you want to sing. And in order to do your singing, you need to get a full-time job. That's what I call a 9 to 5 situation where you have your weekends off so you can sing and you have your nights off where you can go to rehearsal, stuff
And
like
and
that
and relax too.
and relax as well. This week, for some reason, I think a lot of people are struggling. So she wind up getting a lot of hours because a lot of people quit where she worked at. Before she was struggling to get hours. Now they, pushing hours on her because everybody else is quitting. Um, but it's killing her because she's luckily her job is literally next door to each other.
Right.
So she could just when she finished one, she could walk over to the next one, but it's still tiring her out. She's
Oh
wearing
yeah.
out. But
I can understand that though, because sometimes I know I get anal glaucoma. I can't see my behind working that going to work. But
but
yeah, no,
so
no,
it's
that's
hard. But I still thank God that she still has that mentality that I did raise her to be, where you still need to work because them bills don't stop because you do. I've
oh
always
yeah.
taught my kids the
William always
bills do
write me
not
every
stop.
month.
You said who?
William be writing me every month talking about, yo, can I hold something? Can I hold something? I'll be like, damn. Can't you go a month? Can I go a month without you calling me or emailing me or telling me that I owe that I need 5 on this and 12 on that?
Yeah,
Not,
it's hard. It's hard, and even though I feel we're doing better job wise, but we're still not doing better financially. You know, we're
we're
still
broke
maintaining.
at a higher level.
Yeah, we're broke.
I love
I
that.
like that. I like that. We're broke at a high level. But our children or this youth, there's a lot of the youth. I'm not going to say all of them. A lot of the youth today just feels that if you can't pay me what I need you to pay me, I'm not going to work at all. And us as parents have this continuous way of we're going to stand there and uh, help them continuously help because we don't want to see them fail. We don't want to
Yeah,
see them
but
fail.
sometimes
But
they gotta fall on their face to know that the ground is
right,
there.
right. So, somebody was upset with me because both of my sons at one point was homeless. Both of them was homeless. I didn't tell neither one y'all could come home, but I didn't stop them from coming. But when they came, I said, okay, you can't sit around here and not pay no bills because everybody in this house gonna pay. That's why I don't have no pets because pets can't work. So everybody has to work in this house, and that made them stronger because I didn't tell them, yeah, you homeless. My oldest son, and I think I told y'all this before. My oldest son, I told him, I said, well, okay, son. He was sleeping in his roommate's car and working at BMW. I said, well, son, go to the truck stop and take your shower and stay on the dollar menu. That was the advice I gave him. But when he finally said, okay, I have to break down. I can't do this anymore. I need to go home. He kind of graduated back into the house. And, I never told him to leave, but I told him he can't be here without bills. But to me, that grew him to not feel entitled that if I don't get what I want, I'm not going to do nothing at all. They still took jobs that, at least paid the bills. And they struggled a little to where they feel that they don't want to struggle anymore. So they finished school, they went to the military, they did a lot of stuff to build themselves up. So, but a lot
Right,
of these youth do not do that today.
right. No, I got you. I definitely got you. But that's I think that's a thing from today. I'm gonna give everybody a quick definition of what soft life is, what I found. The soft life refers to a lifestyle centered around ease, comfort, and minimal stress. It's about prioritizing well-being, enjoyment, and self-care over hustle and hardship. Rather than striving for constant achievement or material gain, the soft life embrace living intentionally, making choices that support happiness, balance, and fulfillment. People pursuing a soft life often seek to create peaceful routines, focus on their mental health, and value experiences that bring genuine joy rather than simply chasing financial or societal status. Now, you think anybody's kid in here wants the soft life? They probably all want it, but how realistic is the soft life? I'm gonna go to my sweetest girl from New York City, girl, City Apple. What's up, Miss Apple?
Hey everybody. I don't know. I don't have my boys, they would rather work than not. That's just how they're built. My daughter, she wants things, so she wants to work because she know mama ain't got it. But she lived a pretty soft life most of her life because I did spoil her because she's the youngest and the only girl. But now that she's a mom, um, her priorities shifted and she's actively looking for her own place and actively looking for work. So I think that mom gene like kicked in for her, and she's like, okay, the soft life is not for me. I gotta make it. I can't wait for somebody else to give it to me. I'm gonna have to do it so my son, can live that soft life. But my boys, they've always, even as teenagers, I remember my youngest son. He's 29 now. But 20 years ago, when he was about 9 years old, he used to go out when it snowed with his little shovel and go, shovel out people's cars and driveways and whatnot to make his little pocket change. And he always had that hustle mentality. And my oldest one, he focused on school. He's 33 now. He always focused on school. So when he finished, he would have a good foundation to get a job that he wanted and to make the money that he wants. And, even though he works 7 days a week, 12-hour days, he seems fulfilled.
Yeah,
So
because he has his purpose. He's doing what
he has his
he's doing what he
purpose,
wants to
right?
do,
Right.
and
And they
that's
saw me
that's the
like
thing.
like Chocolate Pearl said, they always saw their mom working and hustling and making sure there was food in the fridge. They had decent clothes on their backs. The bills was paid. Even during COVID, when everybody else, that they knew didn't have cable, didn't have the extra amenities or whatever, I never let that slip for them. So they didn't know, they never realized what a real struggle is. Like, I might not have been able to get you the latest iPhone, which eventually I was able to do, but you had phones when your friends didn't. You had, the latest sneakers and, this, that, and the third because you saw me working towards it. And I think that motivated them to not want less. And like Chocolate Pearl also said, I told them don't remain stagnant in a role. When you get a job that you like and that you enjoy, try to move up in the company to make better. So they're both doing that. One is a producer of plays and whatnot, and he started out as a stagehand with all his degrees and whatnot. He started out as a stagehand, but that was his passion, and now he's an actual producer with an agent and stuff like that. And then the younger one, he started out as a security guard. Nothing's wrong with being a security guard for a woman's homeless shelter, and now he's a house manager, and he got that position within 6 months of being in that company. So they always strive for better. And what some said, I want her to know college is not for everyone. My oldest one, yes, he graduated, he got multiple degrees, but my youngest son, he didn't finish school and he's still doing well. College is not for anyone, and I'm so happy that you are letting your kids um guide their own ship. I'm very happy about that because just like we had to learn and we had to struggle, kids have to do the same thing. And maybe the path that you took is not what they are supposed to do. And they'll make it eventually because they had that good foundation as far as like their parents pushing them and supporting them. And some kids are really, really soft. But what I learned is that what you taught them growing up, it kicks in eventually,
Yes,
for some kids.
the Bible does say train a child in the way they should go, and when they get older, they'll not depart far
Yes,
from it.
yes, 100% I agree.
So, Big Al, I know you have kids and nearly grown grandkids. What do you see about the soft life in your offspring?
Well, my kids and grandkids, like I said, they knew the value of hard working. In my household, the example they saw was either you go to school or you get a job. And I like what Miss Apple and Miss Chocolate Pearl said. There's an issue of expectation management where you start at a level and then you progress. My second oldest son started out as a security guard, and that motivated him to go to the police academy, and then he became a police officer. So, soft life is not an example that was ever seen in my household. And struggle is not a bad word. Struggle builds character and it gives you a tenacity to really work hard and progress. And the final thing I would say is expectation management. The first house I bought was $41,000 and my mortgage was $250 a month. But that was like a $500,000 home
Yep.
today, that 41,000. And then I progressively, made more money and had a better foundation to afford a bigger, a better home. So uh, soft life is nothing that is part of the culture of the Morrison family. They know you have to work hard. And as part of that hard work, you have to struggle sometime until you get to a point where you can not struggle as hard as you initially started. I hope that makes
Right.
sense.
And that's the thing though. they saw your whole life as, their whole lives, they saw you um providing discipline, providing structure, providing a system, saying, hey, you got to work. You want to eat, you got to work. You want to play, you got to work. You got, nobody's going to give you anything. And that's kind of what our parents told us. And even when they didn't have it, if you wanted it, you had to go get it. And that's, and I want to say that um, we as melanated folks, we do, most of us do want the best for our children. However, unfortunately, we can't give them everything that we want them to have, but something they don't need everything they want to have. And a lot of times we kind of mix up their wants with needs, and then we take care of their wants, and then we have to figure out how to get their needs met. And that's kind of a backwards way of thinking, but that's what's happened. Miss Kim, do your children want the soft life? I already know the answer, but tell everybody else.
Um, they're pretty much hardworking young ladies. My oldest, she's in the medical field, and she moved up. She's over the office. She's also the office manager, but she works part time. So I basically worried about her working. She's been working a part time job in a warehouse for a while. And, I was like, Chelsea, I'm kind of worried about you, working 7 days a week. But she explained it to me. My full time job is easy. I don't really do much. So I basically sit there and can rest. But that Friday, Saturday, and Sunday is her big money maker job at Walmart distribution center. Now, baby girl, she constantly calls me every day, and we talk about stuff, different things, and she does have a little bit of a struggle more than Chelsea does, because Chelsea has a roommate where Nina lives on her own and pays all her bills. She has no one to split bills with, but she is making the money to be able to pay all her bills. She does never ask me for anything, but I do help when they need help. So her job, like right now tonight, she is out doing searches. She is a probation officer. So her job, she can't hold a second job. So they're pretty hard workers because they see me work. I didn't have a whole lot of money when they were coming up, and I had to work sometimes two jobs and was trying to work on my degree. One went to my oldest went to technical school, my other went to a university. Both of them finished, and they're doing well. So with me I think they probably would have leaned more on me if I had stayed in Georgia, because I would have been right there. But with me living here in Virginia and they're back in Georgia, they're surviving. I see the strength in each one of them. So they're not living, I guess you could say, a soft life.
Oh, that's good. That's good because we work hard early so we can not work so hard later. Ms. Dream, what about your daughters?
The problem is, I don't necessarily, I mean, my daughters in general, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like they're probably, because they don't necessarily like need me per se to do much for them. Like they might ask for every now and then, but they're not to the point. It seems like they're self-sufficient, whatever it is they like choose to do. And one, is in school doing her thing. The other one, I have no clue, but she's living and surviving and don't ask me for too much. So I am happy and seem to be willing to give. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with the soft life. I think all of this talk that we talk and everything we do is because of our unfortunate colonized mind. And I think white folks and people of a different hue, I'm not saying life should be necessarily easy, but I don't think it has to always be a struggle. And I think that was like that's one of the mistakes I didn't necessarily make because I don't think it should be where you have to be struggling. I think at the end of the day, life is meant to sort of kind of be enjoyed. So I'm at a stage, and it could be, but I feel like I've always been at a stage where no matter what I was doing, I was hustling so I could get the extras and do the fun things that I wanted to do. Um, because I don't know if I was just working nonstop. I don't know. Maybe because I don't even know if I was raised by. I mean, they were hard workers, but yet again, I feel like they enjoyed life and they still, they went on vacation when they wanted to go. They still did things. So it's kind of like how I was raised. And I always tell people my girls are spoiled because I know I was spoiled. Like even now, I'll still wash their clothes if they come over, like which is bad because they're old, but I don't think I didn't necessarily wash my own clothes either till I like went away to college when of course when I'm not there and whenever I went back to my mom's, she would probably wash it. So on some level, I I don't know. I don't think the soft life is a bad thing to do. I think your mental health is definitely something good to take note of. I think we're just also in that struggle mode. And I feel like what I like about these millennials or whatever they are, they're realizing how much the struggle mode really may not be worth it. Or is it really
Right.
good
But
for
that's
you?
because that's because the things we told them when they were little didn't come to fruition. So they're not going to believe in the American dream because the American dream was not there for them.
I don't think it hasn't been there for some time now for a lot of people. On some level, I always thought of the American dream as a combination of luck and blessing and prayers. So I don't know. I'm not so sure, but yeah, definitely that. And I feel like that's why I don't think the soft life is such a bad thing because growing up with someone who had opportunities who were you were able to hustle and get things and do things because they were available even though you had to work, those things aren't necessarily there anymore. So I mean, just thinking, even just opportunity to buy the house or to do the whatever, it's not as readily, it's difficult. So, and even just the amount of debt with college, is it really worth it? Especially when you see an administration with so much unqualified, underqualified people, and they're
Right.
basically running the world into the ground. So it's like, what are the prices of these degrees worth? So it's a little disheartening.
But overall, I think this is educational because, you know, we all agree that, it's not what we're going through now is something that our forefathers didn't have. They had different kinds of pressure, but what they told us, it didn't come to as much as we thought it would come to us. And we're dealing with it. And I'm trying not to pass my traumas on to my kids. Now you're gonna pick up your kids gonna pick up your trauma because that's part of you. But you try not to burden your kids with your issues. Unfortunately, our parents burden us with their issues, and we still, um, Chocolate Pearl Apple could tell you, we still dealing with it 50 years later. We still dealing with stuff that happened to us 50 years later. But that's life. You just how you deal with it is how you deal with it. But I don't know if I could, and I'm being honest here, I don't know if I could do the soft life. I can't not just do nothing. I like sleeping, I like chilling, but leisure all the time, I get bored. I get bored too quick, and I'd be in too much trouble. So I just,
That's why
I
I
work.
married a man that doesn't do soft life either. Cause honey, we keep it going.
Said
We
I
keep it
work.
going.
I do my thing, but I just can't. Maybe maybe in 10 years when I'm 70, I might be able to let it go, but I still might be a Walmart greeter or something. Just and I don't people as much
Oh,
as I used to. So that's kind of hard. I can't be a Walmart greeter because then I got to be in the public like that. But overall, are people entitled? Yeah, people are. We all have within ourselves. We all have our own levels of entitlement. We think that
I
somebody owes us
disagree.
something. Oh yeah, no,
I don't
no.
think soft life is about doing nothing. I think
Well,
self-care can
I
be
mean,
something. I don't think it has to be
well,
where you're not doing anything. Like the funny thing is, I feel like it takes money and it takes coins to really live that soft life, to be honest.
yeah,
So I almost think
exactly.
it's yeah, I think it's an oxymoron. So that's why I'm like, with this soft life thing, even them aspiring to have that soft life. If you really want that soft life and that self-care life, you're gonna be up and about and doing something to get it. Because at the end of the day, you sitting around and being bored like you're saying, I don't consider that the soft life. I might consider that the lazy loser life. I don't know about the soft life. Because soft life
Yeah,
entails a level of comfort and fun and extravagance along with the
no,
relaxation, even
I
if you definitely
agree. I
yeah,
agree. The thing is that these are terms that are coming out. I never heard of soft life when I was growing when I was my kid's age. Anybody else hear about soft life? That's a new thing.
yeah, and it costs money to live the soft life. That's what I tell
Hmm.
the girl.
Wasn't
Yeah,
that
exactly.
wasn't that wasn't that lifestyles of the rich and famous?
Yeah,
Exactly. That's
but
what
There
it
no,
you
but
go.
was.
see,
That's right. That's
but
right.
you
She
know
took
the
it
word.
back.
See, look, the two words that
Exactly.
none of us is rich and famous.
Exactly.
We ain't rich and famous, so yeah, yeah. So we did look up at that. At one time we admired the president because he showed money and he had money. That was pre 1989, of course, but it's one of those things that yeah yeah we're doing our thing and we're hanging out and we're partying, but we still working because even doing leisure stuff today, planning a party, is work.
So so let me ask you, because I'm going back in time now and I'm just thinking about the subject matter that we're talking about. What was the first, and I'm not even before the Cosbys, what was the first black actor or that kind of gave people hope, like, wow, we can live like this, we can, besides pimps and hoes and all of that stuff.
Sidney
I'm talking about,
Poitier.
okay, so Sidney Poitier was one of the ones. He spoke well, he carried himself. But did the movies that he was in, was he like a doctor? Was he a lawyer? Was he someone educated or
He was in one, the Blackboard Jungle, he was a teacher. In Heat of the Night, he was a detective. And as he aged, he started playing more dignified roles. But yeah, he was a. I mean, when you didn't see him do comedy, and because
Irene
that was what
Cara. Not Irene Cara.
Diane Carroll.
Diane
Diane Carroll,
Carroll. That's
Yeah,
it.
Julia.
That's
she
the one.
came.
Yeah.
She came to mind for me. She was
so
elegant and she played all types of roles, but she was
so
somebody to look up to, in my
so
opinion.
was so for the Jeffersons, was Wheezy living a soft life back then? Was she considered to be living the soft life?
At
The
her
George.
age, yes,
Yes.
yes, because
Yes.
she didn't have she now. If you
Not
watch
at
the
the
show,
beginning.
if you
But
watch the
yeah,
show,
not in the beginning. Yeah, she
yeah,
struggled though.
yeah,
Yeah.
they talked about the struggle growing up in Harlem, and where they grew up. That's where my parents and grandparents and great grandparents grew up at, and there was a lot of different. There were people up in Harlem with money. Make no mistake about it. We had a great great aunt that you remember Aunt Alice Chocolate Pearl, and remember how big her
I thought
apartment
that's what you was
was.
gonna be talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, remember how
I
big
thought
her
you.
apartment was. She
Yes,
had an
it was
apartment in
huge.
Manhattan, overlooking you can see
The
Yankee
Hudson.
Stadium,
Wasn't
and
it
that
the Hudson
apartment
River?
was like a two-bedroom, but it was like big as a house. It was bigger than the
Yeah.
projects that we lived. You could have put two of our apartments in that apartment. And so we did see efforts of people who worked their whole life at the end, and with the Jeffersons, that's why they said moving on up. They moved from Harlem to Queens, then Queens to Manhattan on the Upper East Side.
Grandma Betty.
And if you're not, if you don't, for those who've never really been in New York, the Upper West Side of Manhattan, the Upper East Side of Manhattan, that's where all the money's at. That's where they have those 4 million and 5 million, $10 million condos. And if you black, you see the black people that live over there is like Ashford and Simpson and over there. Because you remember Miss Helen used to work on that Gimbals on 86th Street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she used to give
Yeah.
me tickets to take her daughter out to the movies. Give me $20 because I ain't had no money. But yeah, but it was interesting. And like I said, we saw people with money, but we didn't equate money with softness until we got older. And that's where, but the thing is though, and we're at the end of the show, but the thing is that you gotta make the life that you want. You can't just hopefully get it. You gotta tell your kids life ain't fair. You gotta get what you can and enjoy what you can. Because life shouldn't be a grind. For some of us it's grinds more than others, but we need to be together and understanding that pushing towards that goal is, you know, if we can't get a soft life, let's get a somewhat soft life. Soft life like. So before
A
we
hard
go,
pillow.
Chocolate Pearl, you got anything?
No, this was a great topic. Like I said, I had a dream about it. I don't know why, but I dreamt about it and woke up and couldn't remember all of what I thought of, but I was hoping that we would one day speak about that. So I'm glad I did mention it to you because we were very engaged in this conversation. And thank everybody for your comments. And I loved it all. I loved it all.
And the thing is though, everybody can it's a relatable content. It's
Yes.
a relatable subject. Everybody got something to say about that. Money makes the world go around, not people. Apple.
It was a great topic, and I'm sorry I came late to it, but yeah, I agree with Miss Andrine. The soft life is not bad. It's just not for everybody, but I don't think it's necessarily
Right,
bad. I
right.
can't wait until I get into my soft girl era because I'm tired and I'm retired and I'm
Nah,
tired.
you gotta keep your OnlyFans going just a little longer, bust it open a little bit more, a little bit longer.
Good
She
night,
only
everybody.
doing it for her grandkids. That's about it. The youngest one think that she can still breastfeed. So hey,
Hey, y'all the
that
grandparents. I'm
Girl,
not a grandparent, so
it's like I'm a parent all over again. But I love it. I'm not gonna lie, I love it because I didn't have the help that I want to give her when I became a mom, and she's doing great. But I'm glad I'm here and I'm able to help her so she won't get overstimulated or overwhelmed because it is hard.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
that's
Trust
why relationships are
me,
supposed to be
as
two,
a
so you can have a helper.
Well,
Yeah, it
yeah.
is hard. So you that too.
help me, and I said that's the thing is that we used to argue and fuss as siblings over having to do parent stuff as kids. It's a lot different when we're on the other side. Like, yeah, I got to make it a little easier for my offspring and my nieces and nephews a little easier than we had it because we ain't have it. That's the thing. But on behalf of the team, DFG Corners Emporium, I want to thank everybody for coming on YouTube land, Facebook land, TikTok land, Rumble land, IG land. Just come back every Tuesday. If you want to talk about something, let me know. I can be reached at DELITE, the number 7 at gmail.com. I take any subject and hopefully I get it before that. So I'm gonna say my catchphrase, never make love by the garden gate. Though love is blind,